In the Philippines, many people still prefer owning a home rather than renting. But as house prices become increasingly unaffordable for the average Filipino, low cost or budget subdivision housing has become the most practical and realistic option. Hi, my name is Onat. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. The last time I came here was 2 weeks ago when I applied waterproofing on the slab. Today, I came back to check if it actually worked. One thing that really annoys me is people who throw their trash anywhere. This is what I always end up seeing whenever I come here. Last night, as soon as I opened the door, I immediately noticed watermarks on the floor. So, I knew the waterproofing didn't work. You can also see that there's still some water accumulated on the floor. Let's check the roof. Honestly, when I applied this waterproofing, I thought it would actually work because I saw many positive reviews of the product. It also looked very solid when I applied it, but now that it has dried, it just looks like ordinary paint. My neighbor at the back has finally decided to extend his house too. I think that's a good thing because water will no longer accumulate there like before. However, if I don't put up my own roof, the water will probably still accumulate on my side. Right now, I am talking to someone for the roofing installation. I'll update you again next time. So, what does a typical budget housing in the Philippines look like? I'm not even sure if that's the correct term. Anyway, what I mean by budget housing is subdivisions that are low cost, probably 2 million pesos or around 33,000 US dollars and below. These houses are usually built in rows or duplex style layouts to maximize space. Let's walk around the neighborhood. Normally, these units are turned over to the owners in bare condition. No floor tiles, no partitions, sometimes no ceiling, basically nothing. Once the units are handed over, owners can start making renovations to make them livable. Some do small renovations just enough to move in, then make further improvements later when they have the budget. Many people buy this type of housing because it is affordable and practical for a wide range of buyers. It is usually targeted at individuals and families who are looking for a simple, no frills place to live, especially first time homeowners or those moving from renting to owning. One of the main advantages is that it is easier to acquire because it typically requires a low down payment, sometimes as low as 50,000 pesos for smaller units. This down payment can also be spread over 1 to 2 years without interest, making it more manageable for buyers with limited upfront capital. On top of that, the monthly amortization is generally lower compared to mid range or high end housing. This makes it more accessible to the mass market, especially for working class families who prioritize owning a home over luxury features or larger living spaces. Another benefit is the lower HOA fees and property taxes. which help keep monthly and long-term ownership costs more affordable. There is also a sense of being less restricted, as the enforcement of community rules is often more relaxed. Communities like this are also often more connected, since neighbors tend to know each other well, creating a familiar and social environment. It can also be very convenient because small neighborhood shops or sari-sari stores are usually located within the community. This means residents don't always have to go to large grocery stores to buy their basic daily necessities. However, many of these advantages can also become disadvantages in low-cost housing subdivisions. Because these homes are built at a lower cost, the quality of construction is often one of the trade-offs. The materials used are usually of lower quality, and the windows, doors, and bathroom fixtures are often expected to be replaced immediately once the unit is handed over to the owner. In many cases, owners need to spend additional money on renovations just to make the house comfortable and fully livable before moving in. And because community rules are often more relaxed, some residents may ignore policies regarding building restrictions, parking, or noise without facing consequences. This can sometimes lead to disorder within the neighborhood. Noise is also a common issue since houses are built close together and walls are often thinner. It's easy to hear sounds from neighbors, vehicles, and everyday activities. Privacy can also be limited as homes are situated near one another, making it easier to see or hear what is happening next door. Lastly, overcrowding can become a problem as more families move into the area. This can put pressure on infrastructure and lead to issues such as limited parking, heavier traffic, and a less comfortable living environment overall. These are the most basic and even more budget-oriented housing units available. Each unit is typically very small, often only around 20 square meters, and usually designed as a single floor structure with a simple layout to maximize affordability. Because of the limited space, the design is very compact, often combining living, sleeping, and kitchen areas in one open area with minimal separation. The unit price is usually around 500,000 pesos, making it accessible for low income earners who are looking for a way to own a home despite financial constraints. The target market for these types of housing are generally low income workers or first time home buyers. While the units are affordable, they often come with trade offs such as limited living space and basic construction quality. Alright, let's remove these overgrown weeds and clean up this area. The weather is nice today, but it's also very hot. I don't know why, but nowadays, doing this kind of activity once in a while actually feels enjoyable and even relaxing. Maybe it's because I spend most of my time sitting in front of a computer, so doing something physical and seeing the result immediately feels satisfying. It's a bit tiring, of course, especially under the heat, but strangely enough, I find it refreshing. As the weeds disappear and the area gradually becomes cleaner, it gives a sense of accomplishment. It's also a nice change of pace from my usual routine. The unit beside mine is not yet occupied, and it seems that the owner does not come here to check its condition. The grass has overgrown, and litter that gets thrown in the area tends to accumulate, so I have to clean it up once in a while. Fortunately, someone lent me a shovel, which made clearing this up much easier and faster. Without it, this would have probably taken a lot longer. Alright, time for a break. Let's get something to cook for lunch. I'm not really sure what to cook yet, so I'll just grab some vegetables and pork. I've been reading your comments, and some of you mentioned that the non-stick pan I'm using might not be the healthiest option, and that plastic chopping boards can produce microplastics. That got me thinking, so I went online and ordered a wok and a wooden cutting board. They just arrived this morning, so let's open them up and put them to use right away. This cutting board costs 700 pesos, or around 11 US dollars and 50 cents. It says it's made from genuine mahogany. To be honest, I have absolutely no idea about these things, what to get, or which material is actually good. I simply searched for a wooden cutting board online and chose the one that had the best looks and reasonable price. This wok, on the other hand, cost 2,400 pesos, or about 40 US dollars. Just like with the cutting board, I had no idea which one to get, so I simply picked the one that looked nice and was reasonably priced. It says it's uncoated, but judging by the appearance, it looks like it has some kind of coating on it. Anyway, let me know in the comments if these were good choices. Getting back to our topic, what do you think about these low cost subdivisions? Is this something unique to the Philippines, or do you have similar housing developments in your country? As for me, I still think they're worth it, especially if they're the only realistic option available. Of course, there are trade offs. The houses are usually small, the walls can be thin, and the overall quality may not be the same as more expensive developments. The lots are also compact, and there isn't much room for expansion unless you're willing to spend more money on renovations later on. But despite these limitations, for many people, owning a home is a lifelong dream. Having a place that you can truly call your own, a place where your family can live and grow, has a value that goes beyond the size of the house or the quality of the finishes. There's a certain sense of security and pride that comes with being a homeowner. You no longer have to worry about landlords increasing the rent or being asked to move out unexpectedly. Even if the house is small and simple, it's still yours. In the Philippines, there's a strong belief that owning a home is better than renting, and many people work for years, sometimes even decades, just to achieve that goal. That's why these low cost subdivisions continue to be popular despite their shortcomings. They provide an opportunity for ordinary working Filipinos to enter the housing market, even if it's not their ideal home. The reality is that property prices have become incredibly expensive these days. In many areas, even a small house can cost several million pesos, which is simply beyond the reach of many families. Salaries have increased over the years, but not at the same pace as housing prices. As a result, owning a home has become more difficult than ever, especially for young professionals and middle income families. And I think this situation isn't unique to the Philippines. Many countries are facing the same issue. Housing prices continue to rise, while wages struggle to keep up. More and more people are finding it difficult to buy their first home, and some are forced to rent for much longer than they originally planned. So while low-cost subdivisions may not be perfect, I think they still serve an important purpose. They offer a practical and affordable path to home ownership for people who otherwise might never have the chance to own a house. And for many families, that's already a huge achievement. Alright, what do you think about this video? And more importantly, what's your take on these budget housing subdivisions? Do you think they're worth it despite the compromises? Or would you rather keep renting and save for something bigger in the future? If you had to choose, would you prefer to be a homeowner or a renter? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, especially if you have something similar in your country. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, cheers.